Hello and welcome to the guide. If you're looking for a build that has exceptionally fast movement and map clear speed, along with very good defense and a decent life pool that can handle most bosses and in-game content Path of Exile has to offer, then my Toxic Rain Raider is the build for you. In this guide we will cover the mechanics of the build, gear, gems and links, Ascendancy choices, Pantheon choices, the passive tree, jewels and cluster jewels, followed up with some gameplay at the end of the video. If at any point you want to jump ahead to a specific topic in the video, timestamps and path of building will be down below. Let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and go over the mechanics of the build. As you can see right here, we have level 21 Toxic Rain. Now, this is going to be the meat and potatoes of the build. Obviously, this is our major damage output, as the name implies, Toxic Rain Raider. When it comes to Toxic Rain, first and foremost, I want to start off by saying that gem level is everything with Toxic Rain. As you can see, the bow that I have has tons of pluses to gem level. We have Empower in here, level 3. We want to get a level 4 for more damage, but I'm going with level 3. We want to get the Toxic Rain gem level up as high as possible. I can go up one more level to 28 if I get an Empower 4, which I definitely want to do because Toxic Rain scales the most with gem level. You won't get damage anywhere else for Toxic Rain, you won't get as much damage anywhere else for Toxic Rain as you will for the actual gem levels of it. So you want to get Toxic Rain to as high of a level as you possibly can. So obviously, that being said, Toxic Rain will be our main damage output. Now, as you can see right here, we're running Spell Totem and multiple totem support attached to Wither. Now Wither is going to apply a debuff of up to 15 stacks, and each stack of Wither that's applied to like bosses and stuff like that will give 6% increased chaos damage taken per stack, and you get 15 of them. So that's going to help us out with a lot of heavier targets or bosses that we encounter. Basically we're going to cast Toxic Rain, and you can see the spore pods on the ground in the circle right here. And you can see that they actually overlap, and they will, a lot of attack speed on this build is a big deal because you can overlap those spore pods and your damage just goes up and up from there. Our main damage is a damage over time. So when it comes to our gear, we're going to want to find, as you can see right there, 35% to chaos damage over time multiplier, or the 33% to damage over time multiplier. Damage over time multiplier is the #1 stat that we can get on any of our gear. I tried to get it on as much gear as I possibly can. We'll go over that in the gearing section. But Toxic Rain's pretty self-explanatory. It's a chaos skill. We're trying to scale it as much as possible. And in doing so, the #1 thing that we want to remember is we want to get that Toxic Rain level up to as high as we possibly can. This build is actually very defensive also. Because of the buffs like here from our armor, from the passive tree, buffs that we gain from having frenzy charges because of our Ascendancy class, give this build a really high chance to dodge and evade, making it real nice so it doesn't feel extremely squishy. And then we have also a decent life pool. Right now we have almost 5.6k life. So overall, damage wise and defense wise, I would say that this is a pretty solid build, especially with the more that you invest into it. Let's go ahead and go over the gear for the build. We'll start off right here with the bow. As you can see, the base that I'm running for the bow is a thicket bow. Now this is pretty much the best base you can go with in the game because of the base attack speed on it. You get 1.5 attacks per second, as you can see right there. Now this will be your in-game bow. This actual bow right here cost me, I want to say 12x when I purchased it. Right now I don't know, they're probably going between like 10 and 15x, I would say, just depending on the stats. But the stats that you want to get for your in-game bow are pretty much identical to what I have right here. You want as much chaos damage over time. You definitely want to get the 1-2 level of socketed gems, and you want to get the +2 to level of socketed support gems, which in turn takes your Empower and brings it up that many levels, which in turn, when your Empower is that high, brings your actual Toxic Rain up that many levels. So definitely this is going to be the in-game bow. Now, until you can afford that, go ahead and get yourself a Coil Rain short bow. Super cheap. You can get one for like a chaos or 2. Now you are going to want to 6-link it. I mean, I guess you could run on 5 at first, but I would definitely try to get a 6-link. It won't be too expensive. This will run you until you can afford to get a bow like this, but this will definitely be your in-game bow. When it comes to helms, you just go ahead and go with a probably a lion pelt like this, or any evasion base is what I would say. Try to get as much life and resistances on it as you possibly can. Now, you can get the mod with like -9 to chaos resistance. That would be nice to have, but I didn't worry about that. Actually, you want to try to go with the enchantment. Toxic Rain fires 1 additional arrow. If you can find that lab enchant, that's awesome. That's pretty much the best enchantment we can get for the build. The +1 arrow is great for the build. So if you can get that, that's awesome. For this helm right here, I actually paid 60C, and then I just chaos rolled it until I hit, life and resistance. So it's all up to you, but try to go for this enchantment if you can. Now, when it comes to the armor, now this is kind of the best in slot armor. This is going to be the most defensive overall. Gives us a ton of evasion. As you can see, 20% less damage taken if you have not been hit recently, or 50% increased evasion rating if you have been hit recently. It has resistance, super high evasion rating. Kintsugi is just the best, in my opinion, armor that you can have for the build. Now, if you can't afford this, just go ahead and get yourself any armor, any rare with a lot of life and whatever resistances you need, or whatever other stats that you can find on it. And also, when it comes to the armor, as you can see, I'm not even using the 6 link right here. You do not need a 6 link. You can go with a 5 link. You'll be just fine running with a 5 link. Now, I might end up putting another gem in here, my spell totem support setup right here. But for now, I'm not even using the 6 link, and you don't have to get a 6 link. Okay, when it comes to the AMI, like I had said earlier, the number one thing we want to try to find on all of our gear is % to chaos damage over time multiplier. For our gear, that's going to be the best stat, damage-wise that we can get. So I tried to get that on everything that I could. So right here, I went for as much life as I could find, resistances. Now, another thing on here that you see is non-channeling skills have -8 to total mana cost. Okay, on here, on both of my rings, I have it, and also on one of my jewels inside the tree, I have it too. Now, Toxic Rain, it costs quite a bit, okay, and I have it set with minus mana cost to where I can just sit there and spam it all day, and I'm good to go. Now, if you don't have that minus mana cost in at least a few places, then it's going to be pretty expensive to run, and you're going to definitely want to run mana flask for sure. I don't like to run an actual mana flask. I like not having to worry about how much mana I have and all that. It's just another headache. So for me, I got the -8 right here on the actual amulet. Now with the allocation that we're going to go with corruption. As you can see up there, it's 25% increased chaos damage. It has leech, don't worry about that. And then 20% increased effect of withered. This is going to be the best corruption that we can get. I'll point that out for you when we get to the tree section. For rings, okay, so down here at rings, we do want to try to get as much strength, and we also want to get as much intelligence as we possibly can for the build. I got as much life as I could find, resistance. Don't mind the increased critical strike chance. That's a dead mod. Really I could get a better ring, but I'm just going to go with this one for now. I did get the minus mana cost on here as well. For this ring over here, same thing. I got a ton of intelligence, a lot of life, resist, minus to the mana cost. That was my main worries right there. Got that covered in the rings. Alright, so when it comes to your quiver, as you can see on the very top, 25% to chaos damage over time multiplier with attack skills. Now that is tier 1 chaos damage multiplier when it comes to quivers. You want to try to find that, and whatever good stats you can find on top of that. Get yourself some resistances, get yourself some life. Also, on all of my gear, I tried to fit in as much chaos resistance as I possibly could. And specifically on my quiver, I wanted to try to find a little bit of movement speed. I like to get around the maps as quickly as possible, so movement speed, in my opinion, is always good. Down for the boots, I just tried to find at least 30 move speed on the boots with good resistance and good life. Any boots will work, but for me, I like as much move speed as I can possibly get. So onto the belt. When it comes to the belt, same thing. Try to get as much life and resistance as you possibly can. Definitely try to go with the Stygian Vise if possible. Right in here, I have a Searching Eye Jewel. Now, on the jewel, you want to get as much life as you possibly can. And on at least one of your jewels, you definitely want to get the % chance to blind enemies on hit with attacks, as you can see that I have right here. That's a big plus for the build. We definitely want to get at least one Searching Eye Jewel with that stat on it. So try to get the % chance to blind enemies on hit with attacks. Now onto the gloves. Same thing with the gloves. I was able to get chaos damage over time multiplier. I also got tier 1. Get what you can. Get whatever tier you can, whatever you can afford. Now you want to get, once again, as much life and resistance on here. And I got lucky also. I was able to add the 28% increased damage during any flask effect. So I'm actually gaining a lot of damage from these gloves right here. You know, down here we have the Quail Rain. You know, go over that again. When you level, definitely use this. And like I said, you can use this all the way into endgame, you know. Now, it's definitely going to be weaker. It's not going to do as much damage as a bow like this. This is going to be the best for, you know, our weapon and slot. But this will work just fine until you can afford this. Now, as for the flasks right here, starting off, I have Experimenter's Quartz Flask of Heat. You know, it gives us phasing, you know, dodge chance. And then also I have grants us immunity to chill and freeze down there. And then for the anointment I have on there is used when you become frozen. So I try not to really even press that flask. I just save it for when I do become frozen. Next up, we have the Witchfire Brew Stibnet Flask. You definitely want to go with one of these on the build. It grants us level 21 Despair Curse Aura during the flask effect, which is going to be cursing our enemies and dropping their resistance, which is awesome. We definitely want to go with that. And then I have that set, you know, it gives us 20% more evasion rating also, as you can see up there. Now I have that set to use when you hit a rare unique enemy, if not already in effect. It's just great. It goes off automatically when I start fighting harder enemies. You know, you can set it to whatever you want, but that's my preference. Next up, I have the Divination Distillate. The reason that I went with this hybrid flask is that, you know, I don't really need mana. Like, if I sit here and really spam for like a long time, which is rarely ever, or if like I hit a monster that takes away all my mana or whatever, I'll just pop that real quick if my mana doesn't regen quick enough. But technically, you don't even have to go with a mana flask. I just went with this because, you know, it's a hybrid flask, so it gives me a little bit of life and mana. And then up there you can see, you know, 8% increased quantity of items found during flask effect. Pretty nice to have. Always want to have at least one life flask. And then I, you know, got my bleeding immunity and my corrupted blood immunity on it. And then down here, the Zoom flask went with the Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline. You know, this one's getting used if I hit a rare unique enemy also. I went with the maximum charges and the 8% increased movement speed on top of the flat 40 that it gives. So let's get into the gems for the build. Start off right here with Toxic Rain. You want to try to go with a level 21 Toxic Rain. Like I said before, you know, gem level is everything when it comes to this build. You can't get that, can't afford it, just go with the 20. We'll come over to Vicious Projectiles. I have Awakened version, you know, more damage, not needed. If you can't afford it, just go with the regular Vicious. Down here to Void Manipulation. Over here to Mirage Archer. We definitely want to have the Mirage Archer. Helps greatly with our clear and, you know, overall DPS. He just keeps on attacking even when we're not. Now, down to here. Empower. Now, as you can see, I have Empower level 3. If I were to get level 4, I can even increase my damage more. Now, the reason that I went with 3 was because at the time that I bought this gem, level 3 was going for 60 chaos and the level 4 was going for 10x. There was a bit of a price difference, so I didn't really go for that. I might get it in the future, but if you can get the level 4, it is, you know, a noticeable increase in damage, but level 3 will be just fine. Now, say that you're on a real budget and you can't even afford the Empower level 3, then go ahead in that slot and go with the Efficacy of Support. That'll do you just fine also. Next off, we have Awakened Swift Affliction. Now, I got the Awakening gem once again, you know, more damage. You don't have to have the Awakened version of it. You can just get the regular Swift Affliction. Up here into the Helm. Now, we run Steelskin. I run Steelskin. Actually, I don't know how it got changed. Let's go ahead and change it back. Down here on my left click, so that when I'm running around, Steelskin's just going off nonstop. Now I have increased duration to that, which gives a little bit more duration. We have Dash for our movement ability. And then we have Second Wind, which makes it to where we can dash twice. You know, it gives us a faster cooldown time. Definitely want to connect Second Wind with those. Into our chest. Now, Spell Totem Support, which is going to be supporting Wither. Okay, we have Spell Totem Support, multiple Totem Supports, increased duration, so our totems are up for longer. Now they are going to be supporting Wither. You know, this is going to be getting our 15 stacks of the Wither debuff on the enemy, you know, for the harder targets. Like I said earlier, you know, down there it says 6% increased chaos damage taken, and that's per stack. And you're also reducing the movement speed of the enemy that you're fighting. So you want to use your totems and Wither on bosses for sure. And then down here, Enhance. This just adds to the quality of the actual gem, which is nice. It gives us more duration on the actual Wither that's applied. Now we'll come down here into the boots. In the boots, This is going to be our stone golem setup. Now the reason that I run stone golem first of all is because he gives 105 life regenerated per second. On this build, that's great. That life regeneration kind of counteracts the certain degens in the game, so I definitely like the extra life regeneration from the stone golem. Now to keep him alive, we're running minion life, and we're also running meat shield support. These are both defensive nodes for him. I mean, obviously he's not going to be doing any damage. He's just alive to give us regeneration, and also he will have Culling Strike. So say that you're fighting an enemy, what Culling Strike does is when an enemy is hit by something that has Culling Strike, like our summon stone golem right here, we'll have Culling Strike. Once that enemy gets to 10% life or lower, if our stone golem hits that enemy one time, the enemy's dead automatically. So that enemy will be dead at 10% of life or lower. So we connect him with Culling Strike. Now over here into the gloves, our two auras. We're going to have Skitterbots and we're going to have Malevolence. These are our two, reservation auras that we're going to run. Well, actually, Skitterbots is a minion. I kind of consider it's an aura also. But anyways, we want Summon Skitterbots and Malevolence. They're both going to give us a nice amount of damage. We want to connect Enlighten to them to bring our mana reservation down even more so that we have more mana to actually cast with. I went with a level 3. If you can get a level 4, that's great. But the price difference, once again, between the 3 and the 4 is a big deal. And, with all the minus to mana cost of skills that I have, I don't really need the level 4. So I just went with the cheap way out and I got the level 3. But if you want to get the 4, you can do that. And then, I had kind of an open slot right here. I went and threw a portal in there. I don't even know why. I hardly even use it, just to kind of fill the slot. And we'll have another open socket right here. So if you wanted to add something else, you could. Now for our Ascendancy choices, as you can see, we're going to be the Raider Ascendancy. I'm going to come up here. We'll grab this node. Now we're going to come first to Rapid Assault. It gives us pretty much permanent onslaught, which is nice. 20% increased attack, cast, and movement speed, which is great for the build. Come up, grab this node. Over to here now, Avatar of the Chase. Gives us 100% increased onslaught effect, along with 15% here. So that's 115% increased onslaught effect, which is nice. And it gives us 35% more chance to evade melee attacks during onslaught and to evade projectile attacks during onslaught. So which is pretty much always because we have permanent onslaught. Next, we'll come down here to Wave the Poacher. 20% chance to gain a frenzy charge on kill, 20% chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit a rare unique enemy. So pretty much you'll always have frenzy charges up because of this node, and +1 to maximum number of frenzy charges. Then we'll come over this way up to Avatar of the Slaughter. 10% increased evasion rating per frenzy charge, 4% more or increased movement speed per frenzy charge, 4% increased attack speed, and 10% increased attack damage per frenzy charge. So definitely just a good one that we want to get for sure. Now when it comes to Pantheon choices, you can pretty much grab whatever you want, whatever you feel accommodates you better. For me, I went with Solo Lunaris for the Major God for the physical damage reduction and movement speed. And also for the Minor God, I went with Soul of Gruthkul for more physical damage reduction. But like I said, when it comes to the Pantheon, you can go ahead and pick whatever suits you best for the build. Now let's jump into the passive tree. This passive tree will be a level 92 passive tree. That is the level of my character. And that's the same passive tree that will be in the Path of Building that's down below inside of the description. When it comes to the bandits, you want to go ahead and kill all 3 of the bandits in the Act 2 quest so that you get to 2 passive points. Also, let's go ahead and go over the anointment for our amulet, which is right up here, Corruption. As you can see, it's 1 red and 2 black for that. That will be our anointment. So starting off with the passive tree, we're going to come down here over this way, grab these nodes, come up here, grab this, Heart of the Oak for a little bit of life, and grab mana. You can also try to grab that one if you want in the beginning to have more strength and intelligence if you need it, and mana. So next we'll go ahead and come over here, come down here, you can grab this life, grab these nodes down here. You can hold off on Wind Dancer or grab it in the beginning if you want to. And come over this way, get some more life, come up here, come down, get all of these bows over these bow nodes over to Master Fletcher. Grab this jewel socket right here. You can come up here, grab acrobatics, and over to phase acrobatics. Now I'd say come over this way, grab this jewel socket. Come down here, grab this life. Come up this way, grab exceptional performance for increased skill effect duration. You can come over here to constitution for a ton of life. We can come over this way. Down here we can get some more life and evasion rating. Come over here to Hunter's Gambit. Up here we can get some more life. Jewel Socket. Definitely want to come up and get these nodes up here for Elusive. Over this way to Coordination. We can get Trickery. And then you're definitely going to want to make your way over to here for Potency of Will for even more skill effect duration. Now for the actual jewels, as you can see right here, I got my Corrupted Blood jewel. I like to get Corrupted Blood on at least one of my jewels. And then, you know, I just went for life on this one. Now, you can go for, you know, the 3 to 4% increased cast damage over time multiplier on the jewels also, which is nice to have. You know, I probably will upgrade that in the future, but I just wanted to get the one jewel with Corrupted Blood on it and some life. And we'll come over this way. Now we have Replica Conquers Efficiency. As you can see right here, this gives skill effect duration, which is awesome for Toxic Rain. And also it gives non-channeling skills have -9 to total mana cost. Kind of back how we talked with the jewelry and all that, where we had the minus mana cost. This is great to have. Now, if you're doing okay with mana, or you want to use a mana flask, you can go without this. Personally, I'd rather have this in slot of a little bit more life, so that I don't have to worry about mana. Right here we have, you know, 4% to chaos damage over time multiplier, 7% increased maximum life. Don't worry about the other stats on it, but the best damage stat that we can get on these small jewels is the 4% to chaos damage over time multiplier. Now, also I do have a Watcher's Eye, okay? If you get a Watcher's Eye, you want to get the one with the percent to damage over time multiplier while affected by malevolence. This is going to be a nice damage increase for the build, okay? Now, take into consideration that this, at the time that I bought it, was 8 Exalted Orbs, and at the time of the video when you're going to be seeing it, I don't know how much it will be. It definitely is, you know, a little bit on the pricey side, so if you can't afford that, just go with another life and damage over time multiplier jewel, like the one that we just saw a second ago. But when you can pick this up, definitely do so. It's going to be a nice addition to our damage. For the cluster jewels, we'll go ahead and start off with the large cluster. You want to try to get an 8 passive with the added small passive skills grant 12% increased chaos damage. As you can see right here, we have one of the passive skills is Misery Everlasting, then Unholy Grace and Wicked Pall. Wicked Pall is a very strong one in my opinion. So is Unholy Grace. Unholy Grace gives us 10% increased chaos damage and 10% increased attack speed. Misery Everlasting gives us 10% increased skill effect duration. Now we definitely want to try to get this one for sure. Skill effect duration is awesome, and then 25% increased Despair Curse effect. Over here to Wicked Pall. Wicked Pall gives us increased chaos damage, a nice chunk of 30%, and also gives us 5% increased skill effect duration. You know, skill effect duration with Toxic Rain is definitely what we're looking for, so try to get that on there as well. For our medium clusters, right here I have a 4 passive. Now on your medium clusters you can go with either 4 or 5 passive. It's not going to make a difference either way. I have Brood for Potency and Unwavering Evil. As you can see right here, Unwavering Evil, 30% increased chaos damage, and chaos skills ignore interruptions from stuns. Nice little chunk of damage. Brood for Potency, 24% increased damage over time, 10% increased flask charges gained, 20% increased life and mana flask recovery from flask. Nice one to have. Down here I have Unwavering Evil again, 30% increased chaos damage. Then Wicked Pall again, 30% increased chaos damage and 5% increased skill effect duration. So, you know, try to get, when it comes to cluster jewels, as many of these nodes like I have right here. But at the same time, you know, just get what you can afford, you know, until you can upgrade. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions on the build, feel free to hit me up down in the comment section down below. I will get back to you in a timely fashion, and I'll definitely try to help you out as much as I possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with some gameplay footage. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider checking out my channel and subscribing. Thank you for watching.